Welcome to today's program of Trouble in the Land with your host, Jack Keeler. And now, Brother Jack.
Good morning, good afternoon, rather. This is Brother Jack coming to you live today from the heart of Dixie. And, you know, there's always trouble in the land. And I want to talk to you today about a few things that could soon happen, some things that are already. My wife picked this up off the internet the other night, and it stated, and this is not my statement, but it was on the internet, it said that the star of Bethlehem was seen in the sky for the first time in 2,000 years. It hasn't been seen since the wise men followed it from the stables where Jesus was born. This was on the internet on June the 30th, 2015. That was on Tuesday night. Now, if this is true, this would probably be one of the greatest signs, probably the greatest sign that they could be that Jesus, Yeshua, is coming back soon. And anyhow, I tell you what, I'm gonna tell you something that my thoughts exactly about things that I tell you that are may or may not be. All the things I tell you are not going. Every one of them's not going to happen, but some of them will, and the ones that are all biblically stated will certainly all come to pass. And so, if just one comes to pass, then we're in deep trouble. Let me say this: I'd rather be prepared and be wrong than to be wrong and not be prepared. Again, I'd rather be prepared and be wrong than to be wrong and not be prepared. Before I get into the day's study, my wife kind of rolled me over about a little after midnight, and she was on the internet, and it showed some maps and things that were very, very interesting. You know, we've talked in times back about the New Madron Fault. It was showing the effects of what it would be. I don't think many people have the knowledge that the greatest quakes recorded in the history of America was on this area, and which goes through, Memphis and St. Louis and all through there. In 1811, there was a earthquake, a large earthquake, and of course most people had heard about the Mississippi River running backwards. Now, what I didn't know is, until I looked at these maps last night, it said in 1811 that the Mississippi in its widest spot was 100 miles across. Now, that's really earth-shaking. We had talked about a brother, and I won't have time to go into it, but he had a vision, and remember talking about, he said that he could dream. He said you couldn't even see across the Mississippi River. He said that the Great Lakes would break loose, all five of them, and they're like seas, they're like oceans, and said they would come down the river. And he said that you couldn't see from one side, from one bank to the other, that America was totally separated. Now, you can't come and help people that are not there. You know, there's a number of things we could talk about, but we're just touching on this one right now. And what I didn't know is that these maps and also showed that when and if this happens, and let's pray that it don't, but if it does, there'll be such a backlash of water that comes into the Gulf of Mexico that it said it would flood all around Florida, and the Gulf of Mexico, it would flood inland, and I don't know why, but it also showed in this map that it would flood from Florida all the way to New York in that area. So I don't know why it would do it, but it's, I guess, the great influx of water. So this is just something that, that we can kind of hope that it and pray that it don't happen. That's the reason I said that I'd rather be prepared and be wrong than to be wrong and not be prepared at all. Let me give you a little information on, so we didn't even start on the subject matter that I have for today. They say, and I don't know, I didn't do these percentages, but they say that 92% of America doesn't go to church. Now, the Lord said in the last days they would be, a great falling away. I know for myself, and you probably know, you look around your neighborhood, we've got 4 or 5 or 6 families and people live right in this sort of area, and only one besides myself even goes to church. Most people do not go to church. So that will fall in line with God said that in the last days before he returned, there'd be a great falling away, and there'll probably be more yet, even though there will be great revivals, I believe, during times of trouble. What we had in New York was a warning. The next thing that will happen will be judgment. And probably millions and millions and millions of people will disappear from the face of the earth in just a few moments' time. God didn't tell me that, but it's a very strong possibility. I do say this, time will tell everything. Now, they say that 47% of America is retired, and there's no money coming into the government treasury. Now, the government doesn't produce any money at all. They just spend money very unwisely at most times. So we're working towards, they're saying, that our money will soon fall. There's many reasons why it would. But when you get 47% of the people that don't even work, and they're draining the government of money with all the other subsidies we have, I don't see how we can go on much longer. Now, America, sooner or later, there will be great inflation that a loaf of bread would cost $1. That means if you're the only one working in your family, then that's what you will share for the whole day is a loaf of bread for you and your family, for each person that's working in that family. Now, America, as you know, they're printing millions and millions and millions of dollars a month. And we're buying U.S. Treasury bonds with the counterfeit money that we're printing up. Now, the government, it would be counterfeit if you and I had done it. But the government passed a law and said it's not that way if they do it. And so we've done this for so many years. It's just another time of showing ways that America's finances will probably soon come to nothing. And we are the number one nation in the world. All other countries follow ours. If something happened to our economy, then it would be goodbye world, because the whole world would follow suit, and it would go into world depression, and then it'd be time for the 10 nations to come on board. It would be time for the Antichrist to say, I have a plan, and all those things are probably not too far off. They're probably nearer than any of us think. But you can't keep doing what we're doing and survive. We've got away with it for a long time. I believe that America will soon fall, and your money won't buy anything. There's also a chance, like I said, of the one world of this. If we collapse, then so goes the world, and it would bring us into this one world system. I believe that Jesus, Yeshua, is coming sooner than we think that he will. And when he does come, it will be a great shock to all the nations of the earth, because most people are not even looking for the Lord to return. They're not even looking for him. Because God said there was this wide road and this narrow road, and you know as well as I do that most people that you know are on the wide road. Now, the wide road consists of many things. All the pleasures of this life, all the things that people want to do. You know, we have several children. One of my youngest son, he said, "Well, Daddy, I'm doing it my way. I'm serving God my way." Well, the thing about it is, if you're not serving God His way, then you're on the wide road. The wide road means that you will wind up eventually in hell. That's what the wide road is. So if you're one of those that's on the wide road, you need to think about, I may only have my next breath. One day we'll all give our last breath, you know, and that'll be it. If it's when the Lord returns, or if we go before then. But you can't just keep on doing what you want to do and make it to heaven, because it won't work. And soon America will fail, and there won't be any help. There won't be any help. There was a prophet, a real prophet, named William Branham, stood in Los Angeles at the Angelus Temple. And he said, "You call yourself the city of angels," but he said, "One day you'll lie at the bottom of the ocean." And, you know, we talked about this, about the young man before that had these visions, and way back in the early 1900s, and he saw how people were dressed today. He saw helicopters and things that were not even invented. And he said he saw the coastline of California, Tilden, and, you know, sliding into the ocean, L.A. and all them places. We don't have time to get into that, but we've already talked about that in past, times, programs. Now, when God's judgments comes, there'll be no turning back. When God says things in order, there's no turning back. One day they'll be the last person to be saved. God knows who that person is. And when that one person, that last person is saved, then the church is taken. The Holy Spirit is not going to be sticking around here on earth, folks. I don't care what you've been told. Why would the Holy Spirit, the presence of God, want to stick around a bunch of liars and thieves and people the lost when all the saints are in heaven? When the Lord comes, I believe the Bible will back it up, that the presence of God will also be taken at that time. So there's things that are set in order, and we can't change these things. We can't change them at all. You know, you can't say that you be taken off of television sometime by quoting things that are in the Bible. There was a preacher in California, not in California, but in Canada, and he was put in prison, as many of you know, for speaking against homosexuality. So Duck Dynasty, you know, they tried to take one of the brothers off because he was a Christian and he made it known. They took the Dukes of Hazzard off because I don't know, I guess it had something with a rebel flag or something. Here's what I think about flags. If it's a northern flag, if it's a southern flag, if you got a state flag, it's your state. It's your business. It ain't nobody else's business. And I think what they ought to do anytime they do these things is just ask the people of their state to vote, and whatever they say, that's the way the law is. Just like, you know, I always thought the Congress and Senate probably had a lot to do with what's happening, but they really don't. Our president has always said that it don't matter what they think. He said, "I have a pen," and he's used it. The Senate, Congress has done nothing very much at all, period. And then we have these 9 Supreme Court judges. So them and our president pretty much rules America. We know that the biggest percentage of the Supreme Court judges are not Christians. since we had a 5-4 vote, and I don't know how the others think about it at all. I mean, some voted against. I don't know, maybe some just abstained. I really don't know how that vote went down. But in the Middle Eastern countries, everybody that if you mention Jesus, talk about him, you will go to prison or you will be killed. America's trying to, it's been for a long time trying to turn away from the name of Jesus and the Christian Bible. You can talk about any religion, any false religion on the earth, and our president and administration says we will not offend them. We can offend the God of America, the God of Israel, the true and living God. We can't mention him. Even in the military, as you're aware of, you can't mention the name of Jesus, can't pray in the name of Jesus, can't have a cross. All the rest of them can do what they want to do with all of their gods. But we as a Christian nation, that right has been taken away from us. We've gone over the line since we were voted in that, God is against homosexuality, and so America says we're for it. God said, thou shalt not kill, and the first thing our president did, as I've said before, the first thing he done was sign a bill in there in the rights that said that we can kill our children at an older age, closer to 9 months. So more people were able to be aborted. And so that's the way it goes with America. When Israel turned from God, God destroyed them. As I believe as we have half turned, we're not turning, we've already turned the corner and we're there. And so I believe that judgment, a great judgment, is coming. My brother-in-law, I mentioned this the other day, he is the chief of police in a little small town. He's going on to be with the Lord now as a Christian brother. And he asked the city hall, he said, many years ago, he said, can I put up a Christian flag here at the city hall to show that we're a Christian community? And they said yes. And I'm talking about a few days ago, they was forced to take it down because of one person. I don't understand this one person stuff myself, but they had to take it down. There was one person said that they just simply didn't like a Christian flag being up. So they checked with attorneys, and attorneys said, well, that's the law of the land. America says, that they have to take it down. So we have turned our back on God, not all the people, but the nation as a whole. They say that we're $18 trillion in debt. The best I can figure about that, 1,000 billion is a trillion. Some people say behind the scenes that if you put in the money that they owe on government subsidies and things, Medicare and Medicaid and so on, it's more like $350 trillion. So we'll never pay it back. I mean, it's all over. The trouble is coming really soon. God, I believe, has already lifted his hand of protection from America. I believe God's protection has already been lifted. Before we had a warning in New York. Now, total judgment will come shortly. That's the reason I say to people they need to, it's better, like I said, to be prepared and have something to not be prepared and have nothing. You need to be prepared and have something for your wife and your children. Think of them. If you don't believe that nothing's going to happen, maybe you might want to prepare something for your family. I've got a list of things. If you don't do anything else, we've only had 2 people out of over 1 million that was interested in some information. Just 2, but I'm sure there's many others that have taken these broadcasts seriously. But if you don't do anything but one thing, and I have a list, 2 pages, of things to do during times of trouble. You like putting water barrels around your house. There's a lot of things you need to know. If you just write me a letter, stick me a $2 or $3 or $5 or something in an envelope and write me a little note or something you need to pray on. We'll do that. And this will help get us possibly, there's other parts of the country that I feel we need to reach. Soon we'll have 9 broadcasts. We have maybe 2 or 3 left, and that's probably all that we're going to have. There won't be no Brother Jack from the Heart of Dixie after that, probably, unless some people help. I think out of a $900 bill there, we've got $60 in help. So we're running out of time. We're running out of money for your area. And I would suggest, if you don't do anything at all, nothing else, period, just write and ask about the things you can do to prepare for the days ahead. Probably one of the best things you've ever done. But you got to be prepared spiritually, because naturally don't help you at all unless you've been saved. You don't want to have something to eat and go to hell. You want to be. See, this is like God said, that you be prepared spiritually and naturally. Yeah, I mean, you got to cover both areas. Times is getting short. Judgment's coming. But your spiritual judgment, that has to be covered first. Like I said, I don't know if I get a chance to go into any of the broadcasts on that, heaven and hell, but, it's just a person's personal choice. And God said if they entered into hell, he said, I'll never hear your voice again. Never. He says, you can scream all you want to, but you went there on your own. And you never get out. Now, that's not worth living in sin. I don't care how much you like living in sin, it's not worth it. So I'd make things right with God. You only have one heartbeat away from heaven or hell. That's all you are. America has turned from God, and there's not going to be any turning back. We have already gone the course. I believe, though, that we will have great revival in America and around the world as these things begin to happen. I know it sounds like a fairy tale, but it sounded that way to them in the days of Noah, and that's what the Lord said would be just like the days of Noah. People have no interest. Like I said, it's a nice day, sun's shining, beautiful day, things are open. But one day, they closed the ark, and they sailed off and left everyone behind. So no one was left. Nobody had anything to eat. It was all over. And when it's all over, it's all over. And so now is the only time that we have. I've been preparing things that I'm talking to you about for 7 or 8 years. I got really blessed. I got a man to come to my house, and he'll be here a little bit after the broadcast. I put in a wood stove, or if you have a fireplace, this man is bringing me a truckload for $40. God bless me, $40 for a full-size pickup load of wood. I'm putting in enough this week for 2 or 3 years, or 3.5 years, whatever it is. But I'm doing what I tell people to do. I've been doing it for years and years. We take 1 to 2 or 3 things a month and do, depending on how much money they cost, because we have a limited income. There was a minister that said the Lord has spoke to him about the people that don't have much. Somebody wrote, said, well, we don't have much. We don't have much. We can't do much. He said he asked God about it, and the Lord showed him, said, if you'll do what you can do. Buy something, do something, and God said, I'll have something to multiply. But God said, if you don't do anything, he said, I have nothing to multiply. Nothing to multiply. I had a pastor, lady pastor, years ago. Her husband was off the Second World War on a ship, and they didn't have anything to eat, and they lived way out in the country from Birmingham, Alabama, out in the woods, and it was cold, and it was snowing, and they was about out of everything. And this woman was a godly woman. She stayed on 2 or 3 or 40-day fast most of the time. She really walked with God. And there was a knock on her door. And she went to the door. And on the front porch was a number of bags of food. It had just snowed, and there was snow everywhere. And so there was no footprints. There were no footprints at all. There was no tar prints. God sent angels and gave them something to eat. That can happen again. I don't have time to be the other story, but do something. Show God that you will do something. God told me a long time ago, he said, if you do what you can do, I'll do what you know not to do. So we need to do something. I mean, trouble's coming. When the always countries say, we want gold and silver for our oil, the whole world would close down the next day. The end of this generation is about over, and there's not much time left. Just like we've got a couple of minutes of time left here. But money's not what it's about. It takes some money to do things, but the thing about it is, people that do radio and television broadcasts, they don't, they never know who they help. They never know how many people God saved and how many they help. But over on the other side, that's where we'll know what we've done. So I'm doing my part. I'm asking you to do your part, and just send me something where we can have a, let me give you my address. It's Jack Keeler, Keeler, P.O. Box 28, Boaz, Alabama, 35957. That's Jack Keeler, Keeler, P.O. Box 28, Boaz, B-O-A-Z, Alabama, 35957, 35957. And just ask for the paperwork on what can I do in times of trouble. And that'll help us. We need to take this message to somebody else. Let's all do our part. I'm doing everything that I know to do. And I appreciate everyone listening in. I hope you take what I'm saying seriously, because I'm not coming on here, to play games. I said, Lord, what can I do? What can I do? So he made it a way that I could get on radio and do broadcasts live from my home. There's something that we can do. I used to sweep the parking lot at church. I've done a lot of things. There's something that we can do. Try to help me if you can. This is Brother Jack saying we'll see you next time, God willing. Until next time, God bless.